Welcome to the Power to Overcome channel. My name is Paula Andriessen and I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And on this channel, I would like to share my experiences on faith with you. Nothing on this channel has been authorized, endorsed, or approved by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And this has all been on my own initiative. Like I said in my last video, I still had some other things I had to change about myself in order to completely be able to love myself, which was one of the things that eventually led me to overcoming my homosexual feelings. Skin color issue was one of my main issues. I have talked about it a little in my previous video, but I would like to talk more on this. So to hear that I had a different father than the person who loved, I thought was my father at the age of 4 was really difficult, especially the way it happened. My mom and I were standing in the store at the corner of our street, and some lady came in, and she obviously knew my mom and was kind of whispering at her, looking at me and asking about my father. So it really felt weird to me, and I knew something was wrong. I saw how my mother felt really awkward, and she was kind of looking at me like, I hope you didn't hear that. Now, I don't remember exactly what was said, but I do remember that I had heard it and that I didn't understand. So my mom felt like she had to tell me right there and then that Steve was not my dad. So after that, and finding out that my father was a black man from Suriname, and that was the reason why I looked different from my mom and my siblings and my parents, I started feeling different. Before that, I felt pretty normal. And I'm not even sure if I ever noticed the difference before, but I guess I was 4, so probably it had, but it never bothered me before. But from then on, it started to bother me, and I started to feel like I didn't belong. I started to hate my skin color, and the older I got, the worse it got, because people started asking me questions about it all the time. Every time I was confronted with the fact that I looked different, and I hated to have to explain all the time that my mom had had an affair. So when I was 4, so around the same time, my mom went back to church, and my father was not a member. And at church, I could always feel the judging looks of some of the adult members there, which luckily stopped after a while. So my mom got rebaptized. It was 1976. And when I turned 8, I also got baptized in 1977. I started to really resent my mother. I was angry with her because I blamed her for the fact that I looked different. Um, why did she have to have this affair with a black guy? Why, if she would have had a white guy, no one would have noticed the difference. And I didn't want to hug me. I didn't want to hug her. I pushed her away from me. And this doesn't mean that my mom was a bad person, not at all, because she was actually the sweetest person I knew. But yeah, she gave me all the love that she had, but I was not able to receive it. Um, and that probably started around the age of 8. And it just got worse, especially bad during my teenage years. I did not like to be associated with other Black people as being one of them because I really felt white. I always joked and said that I was a bounty, brown on the outside and white on the inside. It didn't mean that I didn't like Black people or brown people. One of my best friends, or a few of my best friends, were Black people, Black kids. But I didn't want to be looked at as a foreigner, and because in my heart I wasn't. And either way, it's a very complicated situation, I guess. Um, it was just all because I didn't want to be different. Now, it could go pretty far because I always knew that I wanted kids and I also wanted husbands, even though I had feelings for girls. I wanted the family thing because I knew that that was right. And I really did want that. But when I thought about my husband, I thought about a white guy with blonde hair and blue eyes. And even his parents needed to have blonde hair and blue eyes, or maybe green, since my mom had green eyes as well. That way, the chance of my kids having a dark skin was a lot slimmer. Looking at that, I realized that I had to change that because it was not healthy. And I definitely should not have kids if I still felt that way. So this all went on for a long time, even after my mission. And it was actually one of the last things I addressed before I could really feel like I had overcome these homosexual feelings. It was actually the very same day that I realized that this guy from Cameroon, Africa, was pretty cute. That I came to the conclusion that in order to change my self hatred because of my skin color, I needed to meet my biological father. At this time, my dad had already died about 8 years before. And up until that time, I never had the desire to meet my biological father. When I talk about my dad, I talk about Steve, the man who raised me. And otherwise, if I talk about my biological father, that's how I call him, biological father. But the spirit let me know that I had to look him up. I have always known where he lived because my mom had told me. And he actually lived about 10 minutes away from me. I had met him once, but I had actually blocked that memory. That was when I was about 6 years old. He was standing at the tram stop right by my house, and he came up to me and he told me that he was my father. I don't remember what else was said. All I remember is the feeling of wanting to run away. And I apparently had told my sister about this, who must have been about 16 or 17 at the time, but I had forgotten about it. And though I did always have the feeling that someone was watching me, especially when I was on the tram or at the tram stop. So then one other time I noticed him looking through our window. He was actually looking at the glass like this. And this was right before I was about to go on a mission. And I did not want to see him. I knew right away who he was. Um, and so I crawled under the table waiting until he had gone. So now, at the age of 33, I try to find him. First in the phone book, and I did not see his name there, but I did see two other people with the same last name. And so I called them and talked to one of my cousins, a second cousin of mine. And he knew of him, but he didn't really know him. But he gave me the phone number of his father, who was my first cousin. And I went there and visited him. And he told me my father had died. And through him, I went and met another cousin and two aunts and found out that I still had two brothers and two sisters, of which one brother lived really near me in Rotterdam. Well, I met him and then I went to Suriname to meet my other half siblings. It was so great to meet them and I really felt at home. And they told me about my biological father and about their lives, and just being around them took away all the negative feelings that I had about my skin color, and a void that I had was being filled. So, though I knew I was a daughter of heavenly parents and that I had a divine potential and that I was loved, I still didn't completely love myself. And I needed to meet the other half of my biological family to be able to overcome that part. But I really felt that God had taken me by the hand and showed me what still needed to be done, and what I had to do to be able to love myself and to be able to move on. And because of that trip, I was able to marry my husband a year later, who actually is a black man from Cameroon, Africa. Yep. He's the same guy that I started liking back then. So all this is, in a nutshell, um, the feelings that I had around myself. So I did not love myself. I could not accept myself, and that was mainly because of the dark skin that I had. And that was only because it was different from the rest of my family. I'm pretty sure that if the rest of my family here in Holland would also have black skin, I wouldn't have minded as much. But now that was the part that made me different, and that was one of the hardest things for me, is to always feel like you're not part of the group. One other thing that was also very hard for me, every time my family came over, my mom's sisters and, well, her brother didn't really come, but when they came over, they would always talk about who resembled who, and everybody was got a turn. My brother, one resembles my dad, the other one resembles my grandpa. My sister resembles my mother, and also within the family, my aunts or whatever. But I always got skipped because I didn't resemble any of them, and that really hurt a lot. And even when I went to Suriname, even though they also had dark skin, I didn't really see too much resemblance. But when I saw the picture of my biological father, I did see a lot of resemblance there. And sorry guys, but I actually think that I resemble him more than his other kids do. And yeah, it was difficult, uh, but it's such a great feeling to have overcome that, and to just be able to love myself the way I am, and to love my dark skin, and to love my babies. I have two kids who are not babies anymore by now, by the way. One is 21, almost 22, and the other one is almost 17. But I love them, you know, and I know that it would have been a big deal because they're darker than me, since their dad is pretty black. Um, and I would never have been able to be with Martin. And actually, I met him. All this goes right along with the time that I met him, and he asked me to marry him actually before I went to Suriname. And I know I wasn't ready, but I did say yes. But because I did like him, but I wasn't ready to be with him, and I knew I had to go to Suriname to be able to be with him completely. Um, I know that God lives, and that He loves us, and He wants us to be happy, and He wants us to grow. And He shows us in Ether 12:27, and He says, "And if men come unto me, I will show them unto them their weakness. I give unto men weakness, that they may be humble. And my grace is sufficient for all men that humble themselves before me. For if they humble themselves before me and have faith in me, then I will make weak things become strong unto them." Now I think of this because I went to the Lord, and I needed help also with this part of the skin color. And I was praying, and I was like, "Heavenly Father," I was almost done. I was already liking this guy, kind of. I just felt like there's just one more thing that I need to do to be able to uh, be done with this, I guess. And so I prayed, and I was at this single adults camp, and when I gave my testimony, I know that there's still one thing. And when I was thinking about this one thing that I still needed to do, it came to me that I had to look up my biological family, or my biological father, but I didn't know at that time that he had died. But um, yeah, I know that Heavenly Father directed me that way, and that was a weakness of mine, obviously, a big weakness that and that I did not love myself because of that. And he showed me that, and he make that weak thing strong, in the way that, you know, I am now surrounded by Black people. My whole family, my in-laws, um, are Black, though they're not around me, but because they still live in Cameroon mostly. But my husband and, his friends and everybody, and my biological family, I still have contact with them, and um, yeah, I it's become one of my strengths. And even though I still don't like to have to explain why it is that I'm different from uh, from my family, but it doesn't hurt that much anymore either. It's just like, here we go again. Um, but it doesn't hurt, and um, I'm just grateful that Heavenly Father reached out to me and showed me, hey, you need to still do this. And that's actually been throughout this whole process, that he showed me, okay, you have to look at this, look at that, you have to change that. This isn't right. Or, you're almost there, always encouraging me and always supporting me. And I hope that you were able to, yeah, relate somehow. At least maybe that there are parts of yourself that you might not have accepted about yourself, or that you don't like about yourself. Just know that there's nothing that is not changeable if you do it together with the Heavenly Father. I know that for sure. Do you like my channel? Please drop a comment, like my videos, and subscribe. And if possible, share them with people you think might enjoy them as well. If you have a story that you would like to share, please be a guest on my podcast. Send me an email to powertoovercomechannel@gmail.com. More information on me, my channel and my book can be found in the description below the video. Tot de volgende keer!